Mikee P, Mike Robosi, back in the Money Players podcast for Assiniboia Downs early week. And we're doing a Wednesday show this week because we have some fantastic races for the late pick for Assiniboia on Wednesday, July the 23rd. Back from his trip to visit his family in the UK is Will Humphrey, who will resume exercise riding duties, I'm sure, since he's returned. But you did great last time you were on the show with me, Will, so we had to have you back.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back covering Assiniboia with you, Mike. This isn't an easy sequence, but I think it is definitely playable. And some big fields, some competitive racing. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah, when I was checking out the entries this week, this late pick four pretty hard to resist, especially given the field sizes. I mean, we have field sizes of 7, 11, 8, and 9 in this sequence, so which is very solid for these Assiniboia races. And we have the 50,000 guarantee, but obviously we're going to blow way past that for the pick four at Assiniboia on Wednesday. Low takeouts. I mean, we keep hammering this every week, Will, but us as horse players, or should I say we as horse players, are always looking for opportunities with the amount of horses in this sequence, the dollar minimum, just too attractive to pass up, I think.
Yeah, as you say, Mike. I mean, week after week, it passes the 50,000 guarantee, and we've seen big payouts here at Assiniboia recently. And this sequence with the competitive nature of these fields, I feel that it's going to be no different. And yeah, it's on a Tuesday night when there's not much else going on. It's definitely a great product to get involved with.
And we had Garnett Barnsdale last week, and he was able to give you that late pick for Assiniboia for last week's show. So let's give it back to you again for Wednesday. Starts at 10:15. We got 8 races at Assiniboia Downs on Wednesday night. First post, 8:30. First post for the pick four, 10:15 Eastern. Nice set of horses here, Will, to kick it off. Going 6 furlongs. Now, this is a condition allowance race, but these are some of the better horses that you're going to find up here at Assiniboia Downs. These are the sort of the listed stakes type of horses, especially at this distance. How are we going to get it started?
Yeah, I mean, this is a competitive race, Mike, and 2 horses really jump off the page here. The first would be the 4 Sawas D, going out for the red hot Jared Brown barn, and this was very much the horse to beat. Ex-California based runner, who was an easy winner of the Pee Wee Stakes 2-back, posted an 81 buyer in that race. Now, looking at the pace projector in this race, he could get loose on the lead, and if that is the case, it could be very difficult to run down. However, slight concern that having been listed as 7-5 favourite in a stake last time and run disappointingly, he's now in for a tag, and that just gives me reason to also use some backup in here. And I think the horse to do that is Excel, going out for Rick Wise, who just missed in the free pass stakes last time out. Also posted an 81 bar in that race, but I felt that could be slightly upgraded as he was wide in that race. I think that a strongly run 6 furlongs is definitely his best ball game, and if Sausdy hooks up with the 3 Mr. Stang and the 1 Run Today, he could get a perfect setup in here. So 4 and 6 for me.
Yeah, and I get Sausdy and I understand him, but he's a bit all or nothing, right? I mean, if he gets his trip, he's fast and he's able to control the race on the front. He does very well. When he gets pressured, now he's had some tough posts, he's had some excuses, but I do think maybe the 5 furlong races are a little bit better for him than the 6 furlongs that he's going to get here. There's going to be no breathers in this race. I'm going to do a couple Jerry Grenot horses in this race. I'm going to try the 2 Malibu SS, 3-1 morning line here for aforementioned Grenot. They claimed for 20 at a Lone Star race on June the 1st. And if you look back, this horse, has been kind of knocking around that 20 claiming level and very consistent. Last 3 buyers, 76, 76, 76. So this horse always runs his race. This trainer is very sharp. He was the leading trainer for several years up here. He most recently has come back, and he brings this horse in, and he also brings in, another horse in this race, and that's the 5 Dominant Spirits. So and that one's 10-1 morning line here. Now, they claimed for $75,000 at Lone Star on July the 4th. If you look back at this horse's lines, he has some stakes lines. Look, he raced in the Springboard Mile last year, faced horses like Coal Battle, Speed King. Well, those horses were on the Triple Crown Trail this past year. This horse has some nice wins at, at Lone Star, on the dirt, on the grass. gets claimed, gets shipped up here, gets protected. I think that he plays very well in this race. So 2-5, and then you mentioned the 6, Excel. I think he's a closer in the race. He's going to sit and make his run like he did last time. Ran the judo. Judo came back to win out of that race. So I think he plays well. It's tough. This race is going to be tough. I do think it's a lot of money is going to be spread around. So 2, 5, and 6 to kick off the pick for Wednesday. Let's go to race number 6 on Wednesday. We got nickel claimers here. These are 2 life. Will, what'd you think here?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, at first I looked at this race and I thought it was wide open, but the more I looked into it, the more I couldn't look past Dusk. And I'm going to make this horse a single in here. I get the favourite by request, the 2, but I just need to see it from this horse again. You know, he had a perfect trip last time when finishing second. He was sent off at 6-1 in that race, and I felt that Dusk was beaten by him that day. But I definitely felt that But I definitely felt that with this race in mind, Dusk showed ran a more likable race. Look, he's been dropped in Class 2 back, and yes, she's been beaten at short prices both times. However, she's been caught wide and rallied into modest paces both times, going 5.5 furlongs. Now gets stretched out to 6 furlongs. And with the 1, 3, 7, and 8 all looking like they're going to go to the front and be setting a pretty honest pace in here, I think that she's going to get a perfect setup. I think that if you look back to prior lines in New York and what have you, I think that on raw ability, she's a couple of lengths faster than this group. And I think that she's going to be able to show it here with the right setup.
I understand Dusk. Does get a jockey switch in here, but has burned a lot of money. I mean, it really has been favored 3 of the last 4, and just doesn't typically make that winning type move. Oh, for the last 2 years, 1 for 14 lifetime. I do think that the switch in jockey could help here. There's another horse that's getting a jockey switch, and that's the 7 Blue Tango. Has had the apprentice jockey in the last couple starts and has shown speed in both of those. Now you get a journeyman here with Knights getting on. Now I know this horse is 1 for 19, but I just think that maybe, and he's ridden this horse in the past, raced very well whenever he rode. I do think that should be closer to the pace than the 6 will be. Now you mentioned there is speed, but could get that outside stalking type trip in this race, and it's 10-1 morning line. So I just think that will play very well in Maltese here. It's a 2 life 5 claimer, so you're going to have horses that look like this, that are horses that stay at this level. And that's a problem. It's kind of a guessing game to who's going to get the right trip. I do think you probably need to use by request, though. Showed up for Renault last time, had the rail, didn't take that much money in that spot, and ended up closing to finish second. Now, you mentioned had a perfect trip, but did have a little bit of trouble on the back stretch. Ended up coming late, but couldn't catch sneaky situation. I do think with this inside post, with this pace scenario, and second start over the track, I do think for these connections, it's going to be low on the board, but is a likely winner. So I like the 7. I would use a little 2. Wide open 10-horse field there in the second leg of the pick 4 on Wednesday. Go to race 7 here, and it's another condition allowance race. Now, these horses going 7.5 furlongs. This is 2 turns here at Assiniboia Downs. And, well, a lot of these horses faced each other back on July the 8th. And I want your take on the disqualification of the 5, I Am Mila, who, if you watch that replay, I realized on the pan shot, it might have looked a little bit bad. The head-on really didn't look as bad to me. Interesting DQ. I like her right back in here. What say you?
Yeah, I completely agree, Mike. I mean, it was one of those DQs that was sort of 50-50, but I thought whether she passed the post in front and got disqualified or not, I thought that she certainly showed a lot to like in there. And look, Mike, there really isn't a lot of speed in here at all, and I think that hinders a lot of horses, including the favourite, Catch a Dream, who, yes, is taking quite a notable class drop, but really isn't a standout on Timeform US, is going to need a trip from the rail, and I feel that with the lack of speed is beatable. I completely agree on I Am Mila, and I'm going to make her my top pick in here. Look, she's been close to pretty fast paces the last twice and still passed the post in front both times. Looks like she's going to be loose on the lead here, and I think that even stretching out now around 2 turns to 7.5 furlongs, I think with the lack of speed, she could get a pretty easy time and hang on again. She's clearly in ready form. But I'm going to take a little bit of coverage in here because I do think that there are other horses to like. The 7, Frankie's Girl, I think is interesting. Has hit the board in all 3 starts since being claimed from Woodbine, and she showed plenty of ability at Woodbine. Now, I don't feel that any of her recent 3 races have really seen her to best effect. I felt that her first 2 starts going 5 furlongs and 6 furlongs were just on the short side for her. And then last time, the jockey really wasn't very aggressive out the gate, and she got caught wide behind a very slow pace going 1 mile. I think if she's able to, if Ali is a little more aggressive out the gate and can get her into more of a forward position, which I think she's perfectly capable of doing, and she's close to I Am Mila on the lead, I think that she's definitely good enough to go by in the lane. And I'd use as a 6, I'd use the as a B, sorry, I'd use the 6 Midnight Candy Storm, who might be undone a little bit by the lack of speed in here, but it's just a very consistent runner. Has hit the board in all of her last 7 starts and came flying late to just miss by 3/4 of the length behind I Am Mila and Mineral Rights last time. Stretch out to 7.5 furlongs should help, and I feel that she's proven that she's capable of mixing it with these types of girls. At 6-1, it's hard to leave off such a consistent horse as her.
Yeah, I'm interested in the 6 here a little more too. Just with the jockey switch here, you get Whitehall now, and he rides this course very well, especially going the 7.5 and made rallies in the last 2 starts. Is improving for a barn that's very sharp so far here at the meet. So I do like the jockey switch there, but definite A for I Am Mila. I just think that the DQ last time was unwarranted, so gets to face this sort of horse again. I do think that she has a pace edge. I like the last 2 races, and hopefully she can keep her nose clean and get it on the wire first on Wednesday at Assiniboia. Jump to race number 8 to finish another nice allowance race, Will. Another very solid field. We got 9 of them lining up in here. I'd imagine the 6 and 7 will take plenty of money. How are we going to get paid?
Yeah, look, Black Tecker, I think that she's definitely a must-use, and she'd be a lone A for me. I mean, she really does stand out. Has hit the exacta in all 4 starts at Assiniboia, posting bar speed figures 71, 75, and 71 again. Now, she did lose at odds of 1-5, 2 starts back, which she really shouldn't have done, but she was coming off just 8 days rest that day, and I felt that having watched that race, she just looked like that short turnaround caught up with her. She was good in winning last time out, beating Designated Hitter, who shows back up again. She's been freshened up, gets 35 days rest here, and it's Ketlin. He hits at 35% here. She looks the speed of the speed. She looks the best horse in the race, and I think that cutting back to 5.5 furlongs, she should really run them off their feet. I'd be more interested if you were looking for alternatives or one to play underneath, probably in Designated Hitter than Totalize, who, I'm just unsure whether Totalizer is quite suited and good enough going 5.5 furlongs. I feel that he's more of a 6 furlong type in here, and 3 regressing speed figures in a row isn't really what I'm looking out for. But I think this race really does run through Black Tecker.
I understand. I will say, though, that Totalizer, if you look at his lines, one, he was claimed last time by Jared Brown. So that's something that is significant in here. And if you look back, 2 back lost to Judo, lost to Lansdowne. Both of those horses came back to win out of that race. And Lansdowne won last week in the finale. Judo has been beating up on stakes horses. So I do think, and this horse gets a jockey switch to Whitehall here also. So there's a lot to like for me here. I do understand that the regression and the speed figures, but I just think that he's going to be right there, and he's going to get a different kind of trip in this race. It's going to be off the pace a little bit, and I do think that he's going to rally and be on the wire. As far as Black Tech, I think I'm going to try to beat this one. Has been favored in the last 3. Has only gotten there in one of them. Actually, 3 out of the last 4 has only gotten there one time and had a diminishing lengths in that spot. And Designated Hitter didn't have the easiest trip in there. It was pretty far back. He's usually much closer to the pace. Well, he was 8th early and came flying to just miss in there. That one's definitely improving and probably needs to be on tickets here. So I don't mind that one. And then there's a horse in here that's a crazy shot. It's 50-1 morning line, Curly Isa. And I like this horse. Was very good last year at this racetrack, 5 for 12. Now, this year so far, really not so much. And it has struggled three straight starts, and the odds have been reflective of that: 14-1, 50-1, 61-1 versus these horses. But this horse is capable off his best, and he's 50-1 morning line. So if he would wake up in this spot, and I think that it's a possibility, and I just think, no, is this horse an A in the race? No, but I do think could be, sort of like a backup flyer, run a dollar ticket through this horse. You get a jockey switch here to Battery, who is one of the top jockeys at the meet. I do think that this horse maybe could wake up, and you're going to get paid if he does. So that'd be one I would add. So totalizer, a little bit of 2 designated hitter, and then use a little Curly Isa if you feel like taking a long shot in the finale on Wednesday. Well, Will, it's been, I think, a nice pod here. A lot of nice races. These are some of the best horses that ASD has to offer. So the fact that they're lumping them in this late pick 4 on Wednesday makes it even that much more attractive.
Yeah, it's a really good sequence, Mike. Like you say, some nice horses running here, as we previously mentioned, some big fields. And I mean, I don't think we've really agreed on one horse so far on this pod. So there's definitely lots of different ways that you can go, and it could pay decent. So no, I'd encourage everyone to get involved. Nice sequence.
Jump into Assiniboia on Wednesday night. They race Tuesday and Wednesday this week, so we'll have this pod out on Tuesday. So make sure you get in there on Tuesday night and then stick around on Wednesday for the late pick 4. Only a couple weeks away from Manitoba Derby. And I talked to PTF today, and we're going to book him for that podcast. So look forward to having him on the show. But Will, certainly always great to have you and appreciate your thoughts. I know that Laurel's not going right now, but you'll continue whatever your exercise riding, and you're always a busy man, and you always show up in the network for us. So appreciate you and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll see y'all next time. Jump into Assiniboia Wednesday night. We'll see you next week.